Hi friends, it's Laura and it is a beautiful fall day, so let's do a fall garden tour.
Okay, so we'll start at the entrance to the backyard. We are in Zone 6, Connecticut, and it's November 15th right now. We've had a few frosts already, probably 4 or 5. The temperature's gotten down to about 22 degrees. But there are still things to look at. This Alyssum has handled the frost really well. I have covered the Alyssum in the garden on the nights that it got lower than like 30 degrees though. And it sure does look different in the wintertime. But overall, one of my goals is to add a lot more evergreens, a lot more winter interest. So we do have a lot of autumn joy sedum. I have a couple other types of sedum as well that I do leave standing during the winter. We have some hydrangeas and the leaves have fallen off, but I do leave the flower heads on them. And this agastache, I also leave this up because it just smells amazing. I don't really see any birds or anything nibbling on it, but it smells so good even when it's dry like this. If you just run your hand on it, it smells amazing. And that big green thing you see is parsley, which still hasn't died off yet. That seems to love the cold. And I actually think it's really pretty. On the other side of the entrance to the backyard, I'm trying to turn this area into like a perennial herb bed. So I have some oregano in here that is still looking good. And this spread quite a bit this year, so I'm happy with that. This rosemary got really big. I'm not sure if it will make it through the winter. They're kind of hit or miss in my zone, so we shall see. Over here I have another autumn joy sedum, and there is a penstem in here as well. They're kind of mixed together. I'm probably going to move these out and move the sage plant that I have into this area, and maybe some thyme as well. And we will swing around to my favorite area of the garden, but it is super sunny, so I think I'm going to switch to coming at this from the back side here. Okay, that's better. And this is definitely become my favorite area of the garden this year. This would be like the fairy garden / witch's garden, I guess. I like to name all my gardens. Do you guys do that? Let me know in the comments if you name all your gardens. It just kind of makes it easier to keep track of things also, I think. So I still have this climbing hydrangea on here. It actually still has some leaves left on it. This is my first year with this plant, so I'm not sure how long it will hold on to those leaves. We'll see, I guess. And I have quite a bit of ajuga in this bed. And I don't know the type because I actually found it like in the lawn and I transplanted it. And it has spread quite a bit. I know that it can get aggressive, so I'm going to keep an eye on it. And I mostly have like warm colors in here. So I have this Heuchera. This one is called watermelon. And there is a little arborvitae right next to it. I believe that one is a fire chief. I have some hardy geranium in here, some cranesbill. The dark plant is the ajuga. And then over in the fairy garden, there is some more alyssum that is still blooming. This one is a little bit less purple. It does have some purple in it, but it's mostly like white with purple specks. Really cute. And then as you go further into the fairy garden, I have some creeping phlox planted closer to the fairy castle and the fairy apartment building. And that is looking really good still. But the star of the show here, I think, is this gorgeous oak leaf hydrangea. This one is called Ruby Slippers. I've had her for like 4 years. I've moved her several times and I am so happy with where she is now. This is like the perfect spot for her. Her color in the fall is amazing. And like I said, we've already had like 4 or 5 frosts where it's gotten down to like 22, and she is still hanging on to her leaves, and she's just beautiful. I love her. This is the only oak leaf hydrangea I have, but hydrangeas are probably my favorite overall plant. So I do have a lot of them. I think I'd really like to add some more of these oak leaf hydrangeas though. They are just gorgeous. And I've had this one in full sun, and it has done absolutely fine. As you can see, she looks amazing. But I think if you're in warmer zones, you might not be able to get away with full sun for this. It is easier to put panicle hydrangeas in full sun and get away with it than the other types, than the macrophylla or mop head type. But now let's have a look at the porch, and we'll see how the containers are doing. So things are doing okay over here on the little mini porch area. In the big purple pot, I had put a euonymus in here. It is doing fine. And the ivy's doing fine as well. This Alyssum right here has succumbed. I'll be pulling her out very shortly. But this ivy is looking great. There's a yucky leaf on here, but look at the beautiful pattern on these other ones. Isn't that gorgeous? I just love ivy so much. And I know it's super invasive and everything. It's in pots. It's not touching anything, so we're good. And then up in this window basket, I have been covering this as well, and these Alyssum here are looking okay. They still have a little bit of color left on them. They're doing all right. The ones on the other side of the box are doing even better. They're thriving. And then I just have some ivy in here and a little dusty miller, and then I think I might add a couple of Heuchera little baby ones that I have. And I think they would look cute in here over the winter. And over here in the shade garden, we're doing okay over here as well. We got a little bit of evergreen interest. There's a boxwood here. There's a pieris and some hellebores. There are 2 Jacob's ladders in here that are looking really good. This variegated one is gorgeous. And this other one has a little bit of powdery mildew, but that's okay. It still looks good. And at November 15th, I mean, I'll really just take what I can get in terms of like any color, any green even. And then as we come around here, I do have one amazing plant over here. This is an azalea that just puts on absolutely amazing fall color. I mean, it is just straight like ruby red. She's beautiful. And this plant in particular will hold on to its leaves for a good deal of the winter, if not the whole thing, in my experience. So that is wonderful. I have another one in the front that does not hold on to its leaves through the winter. So it's not like a reliable rule for azaleas. It's kind of hit or miss. They're in the rhododendron family, and rhododendrons are evergreen. But when it comes to azaleas, it's a different story. And then as we come around here, I have a dappled willow. I may end up moving this to the front. I just think it might get too big for this spot. This is a little Spartan juniper. And I have a couple echinacea plants that I moved over here. I have some hydrangeas that are on their last legs here in terms of leaves. And this scraggly thing is a hosta. I'm considering just getting rid of hostas altogether because of the slugs that we have. This is a holly. This is another one that I might end up moving because I think she doesn't get enough sun over here. And this is our lovely pile of scrap wood. Hopefully it will dwindle as I continue to work on my many projects. I have a couple heathers over here as we transition into the moon garden. These, I will see how they do over the winter. I've heard that sometimes they don't last in my zone 6 and they don't come back, but they've grown quite a bit. So we'll just see what happens. You know how it is. There's a lot of leaves in here, but that's fine. Well, I'm just going to probably leave these ones. There's some white echinacea in here. You can see things are a little bit more green in this area. I just think that the microclimate over here, there's just something going on where it's not getting as cold as the rest of the yard. So there's a couple hydrangeas that are just about done with their leaves, and this alyssum here is still blooming. There's one on the other side as well. Still looking good. There's a couple little blue spruce things. There's a penstemon in here that is giving gorgeous purple color right now. And there's also some dianthus that's looking okay. I mean, the greenery on it is looking pretty good. They like chilly weather as well, so I think they've liked the cool. There's a lamium in here that has bounced back after it was really not doing well in the heat. And this is a crimson 9 bark that I love. I got this on clearance for like $9. It's gorgeous, and I think it'll make a nice transition from the warm area into the moon garden because it will put on white flowers. And the color is amazing. This is not an evergreen, but it hasn't lost its leaves yet. And I just think the color is so beautiful. Okay, so moving up to the front yard now. This will go a little bit quicker. We have some yarrow that is still, some of it is still looking green. Some of it is a little bit dried out. It kind of just needs to be cut back. But this does provide a little bit of evergreen color, or at least semi-evergreen color. And then I also have a lot of serious blue salvia up here that I have grown from seed, from Baker Creek seed. And it is still going strong and looking beautiful. I did have kind of intertwined with this, I had some blue spice basil, which kind of has a similar style, similar look to it, that died off with the frost, so I ended up pulling those out. But these serious blue salvia are still looking gorgeous. Some of them still have color on their blooms. They were marked as a tender perennial, so I don't know if they will come back for me next year, but I saved seed from them. So even if they don't come back, I can always just start them again. I have a few spirea up here that have some really pretty fall color on them. And then there's a few forsythia bushes. I think I'm going to end up getting rid of them. I don't think forsythia is for me. It's too aggressive and it's just too much work. And I don't like them that much. So I think I'm going to phase them out of my garden. So that will be a project to be thinking about for next year. And as we move over to this side, this area will really need to get filled in quite a bit. This is one of the border areas, and I ended up expanding this a lot this year just by pulling out the sod. But next year I'm going to need to do a lot of planting here. And I do have a plan. Because my color palette for the rest of the garden is going to be pretty precise. I'm going to try to keep everything purples, blacks, and like dark crimsons maybe. Because I'm keeping the color palette like that for the rest of the garden, I'm going to use this area to kind of go crazy. And this is going to be a rainbow garden. I got the idea for this from Gardener in Love. They're a YouTube channel. If you haven't watched them, you should definitely check them out. They're a couple in North Carolina, two guys, and they are amazing, and they're funny, and they're just adorable. And they had a video titled like a rainbow of annuals, and I loved that idea. And I was like, okay, I'm definitely having a rainbow garden next year. So that's going to be the plan for that space, and I'm really excited about it. On this side of the driveway, this area is sort of new. I got this mostly planted up this past season, and I ended up kind of doing like drifts of things. So I have a drift of lavender in the front. There are some different types of lavender in here, but they all look beautiful and I love them and they smell amazing. And then behind them I have autumn joy sedum, like a line of those. And behind the autumn joy sedum I have a few panicle limelight style hydrangeas, which have been getting nibbled on by the deer, but that is okay. I don't mind that. They bloom on new wood, so I kind of let the deer do what they want because it's kind of hard to stop them anyway. So they tend to only bother the garden more in the very beginning of spring more than anything. But then again in the fall going into winter, and I just don't mind it that much at this time. So I kind of just let them do what they want. There's a boxwood over here and a little lemon thread cypress. And then in front of the tree is more alyssum that is still going, still looking good. I just love it. More alyssum next year. And I did save seed from these as well. So hopefully we will have lots of purple alyssum next year. And onto the other side of the driveway here. There's quite a bit of leaves in here, so it's not that easy to see. But there's actually, this here is a superbena in the front. And obviously it doesn't really have any flowers on it anymore. But it's still green. So, I mean, it's gotten down to 22 degrees. That's kind of crazy. There's a couple autumn joy sedums in here, and there's a little evergreen. And these tall stalks are gladiolas. We shall see what happens with those. They came back for me this year, so maybe they'll come back for me next year. We'll see. They're from the Dollar Tree, so if they don't, it's not a terrible loss, except that they are gorgeous. But I can just get more. I have some mullein in here. That's this one that looks kind of like lamb's ear. And then pretty much everything that's in the strip has, it's just died back for the season. So it's just a lot of dead stuff that I leave up for the critters. So there's bee balm stalks, there's echinacea stalks, things like that they like to munch on. There's a few other spirea in here still giving some color. They will lose their leaves eventually, but for now they are looking very pretty. I have this one and then another one on the other side that's a little bit bigger. I have heard that these can be a little aggressive as well, maybe even invasive in warmer climates, but they do very well for me here in Zone 6. And I just think they're really cute shrub. I enjoy them. And then in the front of this area here, I did throw in a couple different types of sedum. So these usually serve as an evergreen for me as well. I found last year that my sedums stayed with their color all winter long. And then I have another drift of alyssum here. I'm hoping to just do like pretty much like the whole border here to just have alyssum next year. Hopefully I'll have enough to do that if I start a ton of it from seed, which hopefully I'll be able to. And as we swing around here, I am working on expanding this area. I'm going to be creating like a rock garden, like a rain garden type area on this side of the house because it just naturally holds a lot of water over here anyway. But you can see I've kind of started to define where it'll go. I'm just throwing all the leaves in there that I have to kill off the grass. We probably won't plant anything in here until spring. And until then, we'll just be working on getting it all kind of like hardscaped. So hopefully you'll join us for that. That's it for this video. We'd love to see you around here again. So don't forget to subscribe if you are new. And thank you for your support. We will see you in the next video. Bye.